What's going on, guys? Welcome back to the channel. Today we have some news coming out of EA that has huge implications for the futures of some of their biggest franchises, and fans of the Battlefront franchise might want to sit down for this one. IGN recently sat down for an interview with EA's Chief Studios Officer, Laura Meal, to talk about working with the development studios and how EA itself is putting full creative control of their games into their developers' hands. We'll get more into it, but what this means is that EA is allowing their studios free reign over what games they develop and how they develop them, with some caveats, of course. Obviously, this includes the Battlefront games, so before diving into this, if you're new and want to stay in the loop with more Star Wars and Battlefront news, consider subscribing to the channel and getting notified. Now, getting right into it, Laura tells IGN that she sees EA's internal development studios as the, quote, gravitational center of the company, with the focus of her job being to empower those developers to make the things that they want to make, all the while responding to the wants and needs of EA's game communities and fans. She says, "As I started this current role, I wanted to strip away some of the preconceived notions about what games we should be investing in and really start listening to players and incorporating their voice into our development process. Since then, we have announced a slate of games that players asked for: a new Skate, college football, a Command & Conquer remaster, the Mass Effect trilogy, and we developed free content in Battlefront 2 for several years to turn the perception of that game completely around." While talking about the launch and development of Battlefront 2, Laura says, "When I first took this studio's leadership role, players were incredibly unhappy with this game." Bit of an understatement, I think. She says that they had made commitments to deliver content to the community, but get this, they didn't even have team members assigned to deliver on those promises. They quickly pulled together a team of great people from different studios in Vancouver, Montreal, and Stockholm to immediately get to work on fulfilling those promises. "We created free content for players because it was the right thing to do, and I felt we owed it to our community of players." So, back up just one second. They didn't even have a development team on Battlefront 2 after it launched. EA fully expected the loot box system to carry the game over for at least several months, I would assume, and they probably expected the money to just roll in. They didn't even have a team to work on post-launch content, even though they promised that post-launch content. That's really telling about where EA's mentality was at with the Star Wars brand at that time. Either they simply didn't have the resources to work on it, which I find really hard to believe for Electronic Arts, or they simply didn't care, and that's the one I'm going with, I think. Let's keep going though. Meal continues by saying, "We didn't expect any accolades or pats on the back for this work, but we actually saw a significant sentiment turnaround from players, and the game was re-reviewed at much higher scores. Players still love to play Battlefront 2, and I feel we are moving past its history. To hear fan feedback and see players loving this game is deeply gratifying." And yeah, they really did turn it around. Ever since the progression overhaul back in, I believe it was March of 2018, that was when the game really started to turn around. And today, it is arguably now EA's most popular Star Wars game. At least not on mobile. So what does this mean for Battlefront 3, or the possibility of a Battlefront 3? Well, if we keep going in the interview, Laura talks about other franchises such as Titanfall and the tie-in game Apex Legends, and how Respawn Entertainment is currently focusing a lot more on Apex rather than the mainline Titanfall series. She uses this to prove her point that the development studios are in charge of the games that they make. She says that just because they're putting more focus into Apex Legends doesn't necessarily mean it's the end of Titanfall proper. She confirms that the ones who are fully in control of what happens to the Titanfall franchise in the future is Respawn Entertainment, who are the ones who make the decisions based on what players want. She says that's the team who will determine what the future holds for Apex and Titanfall. "I don't believe in directing or telling games teams what to create. It has to come from the player community and the inspiration and motivation of developers." And that right there is the big focus. That's the main case for a Battlefront 3 right now, which seems to be all the talk online when it comes to Star Wars gaming. Go on any social media post regarding EA Star Wars, whether it's a post about Star Wars Squadrons or a post about Jedi Fallen Order. You will get endless replies talking about Battlefront 2 or Battlefront 3 or more content for Battlefront 2. When is Battlefront 3 coming? Hashtag Battlefront. It's all Battlefront. That is all anybody ever talks about on the EA Star Wars posts. And now hearing this coming from the Chief Studios Officer, where the studios are essentially in full control of what games they make, I don't know, guys. Personally, I'm really hoping that DICE wants to make Battlefront 3, because it sounds like that's how we're going to get it. Bringing us back to reality, though, for a second, we have to talk about those caveats I mentioned, because EA ultimately does have the final say on what decisions get made regarding the games, the updates, or even what series get ended. Because it's all a business, and at the end of the day, EA is at the top of that business. And they're going to make whatever decision most benefits their bottom line. With that said, though, there is a huge community outcry for more Battlefront content, whether that be in the form of content for Battlefront 2 or an entirely new game altogether, either Battlefront 3 or a spin-off of some kind. There is a precedence for making that kind of an outcry for a game an actual reality. Laura uses another franchise as an example here. She says, with Skate, for example, we knew that every time we posted on Instagram that the first comment, no matter what we posted, would be #Skate4. That sounds very similar to what is happening with EA Star Wars and the different posts regarding the different Star Wars games. It's always about Battlefront. Here's another caveat though. She continues by saying, we only want to revisit a series if we're confident we can build an experience that moves the franchise forward in a contemporary way. So to me that means that even if players want more of whatever they're asking for, if they cannot deliver an updated version that is better than what they've delivered in the past, they're not going to do it. Fortunately, when it comes to Star Wars and the Battlefront franchise, there is a lot of untapped potential, and the universe it's based on is very big, so there's plenty of content and ideas to pull from. So I'm not too concerned about Battlefront being unable to move the franchise forward in a contemporary way. What I am concerned about is where DICE's and EA's priorities are. This is, of course, coming from somebody who just really wants another Battlefront game, but we do know that DICE is currently working on the next Battlefield installment, and that is going to be a pretty big project from what we've been hearing, meaning all hands are probably on deck for that, leaving no team members to continue a Star Wars game. At least that's what it seems like. We really don't know what's happening behind the scenes. With this revelation that EA is leaving the future of its franchises in the hands of their development studios, who then make decisions on what they work on based off player feedback, it really seems like Battlefront 3 is a real possibility, if the development studios want to make it. So here's to hoping they do, and here's to hoping that Battlefront 3 does become a reality in the future. And if you are like me and want Battlefront 3 to happen, make sure you let EA know. Just be respectful about it. But that's it for today's video. Let me know in the comments below your thoughts on what Laura said about the development studios having full control. And if you liked today's video, be sure to give it a thumbs up. If not, give it a thumbs down. Either way, if you're new, consider subscribing and getting notified to stay in the loop with more videos. That's going to do it from me. I appreciate you all stopping by the bazaar, and I will see you out on the battlefront. Peace.